I've been building houses for decades in Australia and the UK, and when I first came to Portugal, I was shocked. The materials are different, the methods are different, and even the way they do their measurements is completely different. And the first ruin I walked into absolutely terrified me. I thought, who in the right mind would take on a project like this? Well, 7 years later, I bought that very same ruin. And this is the very house that me and my family live in today. In this video, I'll take you through everything that shocked me about Portugal houses, from pre-1970s ruins into modern builds, and I'll share mistakes I made so you don't make the same ones. Plus, I'll throw in some Roman history, mosaics, and little secrets you won't see on any listing. Let's start with bricks. The Portuguese bricks are far different to what we use in the UK, and I'm sure America too. They're basically a bigger brick that's hollow inside. They are not as dense as the bricks that we use in England. As I said, the Portuguese bricks are hollow. They don't carry any weight. They are basically not load-bearing. This means it's all about the concrete pillars and the concrete beams that give the strength to new construction. These hollow bricks come in 5 sizes, I think. The general size of a brick is 29 centimeters across by 19 centimeters high. That allows for when you bed it in mortar cement, you have 20 centimeters high by 30 centimeters wide. Now, depending on the kind of application that you are using the bricks for, they come in various thicknesses. They start at a small 5 centimeter and they go up 5 centimeters, 7 centimeters, 9, 11, 15, and 20 is the biggest, depending on the application you are using them for. Let's talk about timber. If you're used to going either in England, Australia, America, to these huge lumber yards, and they're all over the country, to go and pick whatever exotic or whatever size or whatever you want, they stock it. Well, in Portugal, it's a little bit of a different story. There are those lumber yards in the bigger cities, Lisbon, down in the Algarve, Porto, but the majority of Portugal, they have smaller lumber yards, or the local building merchant will sell it. When you come to picking your timber, the sizes are different, the quality is different, and the types are different to what you get back at home. They don't use feet and inches. They've probably never heard of it. And they don't really use millimeters in most places. Okay, if you go into more of an engineering type thing, then yeah, millimeters is the one. But generally here, it's centimeters. So when you're going into your timber yard and you're asking for a timber size, you say centimeters. If you want a 4x2, it's a 10 by 5 centimeter. That's how you order over here. Concrete alone doesn't give strength to the house. You have to add steel to it. You get steel in lengths of reinforcing bar. This has to go into the concrete in cages to strengthen it up, to give the strength to support the roof, to support the floor, and to support the whole of the house. When it comes to popularity between timber and concrete, concrete is king in Portugal. So you can get every different type of sand that you need to make your perfect mix, whether that's rendering, whether it's bricklaying, whether it's concrete. They've got it all. They just call everything different names. So you have to learn these names. And later on in a few weeks, I'm going to be doing a mini series on all of the materials and products they sell in Portugal. But just looking around here, they have everything, all the different types of sand, everything you could possibly need, plus the gravels, plus the stone. It's a winner here for aggregates. Now the construction methods. There's basically 2 construction eras in Portugal. There's the pre-mid-1970s builds, which is the dictatorship era. Here, people had no money. Houses were built out of stone, mud, and pretty much anything they could find to put in the walls to build houses. They had absolutely no money. The walls were held together by render and plaster on both sides, barely keeping it together at all. There was no structural support in these old buildings. That's why a lot of these ruins today are just falling to pieces. The mud, the brick, the stone, once the roof collapses, the weather, the climate, the rain gets into the building and pulls these buildings apart very, very quickly. After 1974, when Portugal became a democracy, things started to shift, slowly at first, but by the time Portugal joined the EU in 1986, modern materials and funding were flowing into Portugal. That's when concrete slabs, pillars, and beams became the absolute standard in Portugal. You can really see the difference. Houses from that era feel stronger, more uniform, and a lot closer to what you and me expect. And here's a fascinating bit, the Roman influence. Around here, we've seen thick stone walls at old Roman sites nearby, almost identical to the pre-70s build. Also, the Romans used tiny black and white stones for intricate floor mosaics, and that same kind of mosaic style is still alive today on pavements and town squares throughout Portugal, just with much larger stones, probably to save on money and labour. History literally runs through Portuguese construction, and once you know it, you can spot those layers of influence. Climate and humidity. Now, one of the biggest shocks when you start looking at Portuguese houses is how they deal with climate, or more accurately, how they don't deal with it. Insulation. In older construction, there's virtually none. These houses were never designed to hold warmth. They were built to stay cool in the blistering summers. And as for damp proofing, in the UK, we call it a damp proof course. In Portugal, they call it a damp proof. What? A big issue that they have is over the years, the houses have sat there, the councils have come in and they've built better roads and better infrastructure. The problem is when the councils came in and did that work, they didn't dig down the old road. They just dumped the new material on top of the old road. Hence, the problem being these old ruins that are still standing, not all of them, some of them are on higher ground, but the ones that were on lower ground, all of a sudden now have their doorways below the level of the outside road. This kind of thing here. The water will come down and shoot straight into your doorway. And the same down here. The council have put the new roadway down. The doorway here is below the level of the road. It means when we get heavy rain or floods, well, I'll tell you where that water's going, inside your house. So I know what you might be saying, but Jim, we just raised the level of our floor inside. Well, yes, you can do that, but then that makes all sorts of other issues, like head height on doorways and head height inside the house. So no, raising the floor isn't always the solution. So one of the houses we previously owned had this kind of issue, where the floor level of the inside of the house was lower than the level of the road area. What we found when the rain came, it slowly soaked through our walls and underneath our doorway. One of the properties, we had 2 dehumidifiers running whenever it was raining, one upstairs, one downstairs, and we never got the humidity below 85%. Now, 85% is horrendously high. We did find a solution to this property, but I assure you, it was not a cheap fix. It's a different fight than back home. In the UK, we battle the cold. In Portugal, we battle the damp and the mold. Portugal houses are completely different. Different materials, different construction methods, and even climate considerations. You get these right early and you will save time, money, and headaches. If you like the video, like, subscribe. See you next time.